Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are going to pull back the curtain on something you use every single day, but maybe don't fully understand. We're talking about banks and what they really do with your money. And the answer is probably not what you think.
All right, so let's just jump right in. Think about it. You deposit your paycheck. What happens next? You might picture your cash getting stacked up in some big vault just waiting for you. Or maybe you think, okay, they're just lending my money out to someone else. But is that really the whole story?
So this is where it gets interesting. The common belief, the story we all kind of know, is that banks are just middlemen. They take money from people who are saving and lend it out to people who need to borrow. Simple. But the reality? Well, it's pretty mind-blowing. Commercial banks actually create brand new digital money every single time they issue a loan. Let that sink in for a second. They don't just move money, they literally create it.
To really get this, we have to understand that banks are juggling two main jobs. The first one is the job we all see. They're a financial intermediary, moving money around. But that second job, the one that's not so obvious, is way, way more powerful. They are creators of money.
So how is that even possible? I mean, how can a bank just create money? It sounds like magic, but really it's just modern accounting. Let's walk through exactly how a loan creates money that just moments before did not exist. Let's make this super concrete. Say hello to Maria. She's looking to get a $10,000 loan to kickstart her small business. So she goes to her bank, she gets approved, and she signs all the paperwork.
Okay, so what happens in that moment? The bank doesn't send someone to a vault to count out 10 grand. Nope. Instead, a computer does two things at the exact same time. First, it lists Maria's loan, her promise to pay it back, as a $10,000 asset for the bank. And second, it just types $10,000 into her account. That's it. No existing money was moved from anywhere.
And just like that, boom, there is now an extra $10,000 in the economy that simply wasn't there before Maria signed that loan agreement. And this isn't some kind of temporary placeholder either. It's brand new money that has just been added to the country's total money supply.
This stuff has a name. It's called bank money. And really, it's just the digital numbers you see in your bank account. It's what you use for pretty much everything these days. Paying your bills, shopping online, you name it. And yeah, you can go to an ATM and turn it into physical cash, but the vast majority of money in our economy just exists as these electronic entries created by banks.
But wait, there's more. That's just one way new money gets into the system. There's a whole other process that happens with existing deposits, where the entire banking system works like a giant engine, multiplying that money again and again and again.
Now, this engine runs on a key rule set by the central bank. It's the whole basis for what we call fractional reserve banking, and the rule itself is the reserve requirement. All this means is that there's a small fraction of any deposit that a bank has to keep, that it can't lend out. But the rest, oh yeah, that's ready to become someone else's brand new loan.
Okay, so to see this money engine fire up, let's use a nice round number. Imagine the central bank says the reserve requirement is 10%. That means for every dollar that gets deposited, the bank has to hold on to 10 cents, but it can lend out the other 90.
All right, let's actually follow the money and see how it multiplies. So, someone walks in and makes an initial deposit of $1,000. Following that 10% rule, the bank keeps $100 in its reserve, and now it's got $900 it's free to lend out.
So the bank loans out that extra $900. Now the person who borrows it, they're probably going to spend it. And whoever gets that money is probably going to deposit it into their bank. So now, this second bank has a fresh $900 deposit. It keeps its 10%, that's $90,
And it turns around and lends out the other $810. You see the pattern here? This cycle just keeps going. Each due deposit leads to a new, slightly smaller loan. That original $1,000 deposit kicks off a whole chain reaction that creates way more bank money throughout the system.
So this whole system of creating and multiplying money is obviously incredibly powerful. I mean, it is the engine of our modern economy. But as you can probably guess, a system like this has two sides to it, some amazing advantages and some pretty serious risks.
On the plus side, this ability to just create credit out of thin air is what lets people buy homes and lets entrepreneurs start businesses. It fuels economic growth. But the risk is pretty obvious too, right? Since the bank is only holding on to a tiny fraction of all its deposits, if everyone got spooked and tried to pull their money out at once, the bank wouldn't have the cash. That's a bank run. And on a bigger scale, if banks create too many loans too fast, it can blow up huge debt bubbles and lead to major financial crises.
This all probably sounds a little precarious, doesn't it? Which makes you wonder, who's in charge here? Who's making sure this powerful money engine doesn't just go completely off the rails?
Well, that is the job of a country's central bank. Think of them as the supervisors, the referees. They're the ones who set that all-important reserve requirement, telling banks exactly how much they need to keep on hand. At the end of the day, their main goal is to watch over the whole system and try to keep it stable for everybody.
So let's bring this all home with the single most important thing to remember from all of this. The vast majority of money in our world today isn't printed by a government mint. It is created out of thin air, as a simple electronic entry on a screen, by a regular commercial bank, every single time somebody gets a loan.
And that really leaves us with one last question for you to think about. Now that you know that your money is created mostly as debt through these digital entries, does that make you trust the financial system more or less? It's a pretty powerful idea to chew on. Thanks for tuning in.